Welcome to the Best Team Wins podcast with Adam Robinson. He's talking to today's industry leaders and entrepreneurs about the people side of their business.
Welcome to the Best Team Wins podcast, where we feature entrepreneurs and business leaders whose exceptional approach to the people side of their business has led to incredible results. My name is Adam Robinson, and for the next 25 minutes, I'll be your host as we explore how to build your business through better hiring. Today on the program, Mr. Paul J Daly is the founder, CEO, and creative director for the bootstrapped Image Auto and Congruent Story, both based in Syracuse, New York. Image Auto was founded in 2003 and currently employs 35 people. Paul, the best learning happens through the experiences shared by fellow entrepreneurs, and we are excited today to learn from you. Welcome to the show.
It is a pleasure and a privilege to be here with you.
So Image Auto was recently named one of the best places to work in Central New York by the Central New York Business Journal. You guys are doing great. Congrats on a great year so far.
Oh, thank you. It's definitely been one to remember. It hasn't been an overnight thing. As you know, we've been working at this hard for 15 years, and we call it the 20-mile march, reference to a book great by choice, and a little bit every day, consistently over time is how we got here, and hopefully we'll do it again over the next 15.
I don't doubt it. We are here today to focus on the people side of your business, or businesses, really. But before we dive in, let's set the stage. Give us 30 seconds on Image Auto and Congruent Story. What are you guys up to?
Sure. Image Auto started it as a wheel repair company, just servicing dealers. I got out of Bible college, decided I was going to start a business instead to be flexible. Still wanted to serve the church, but also wanted to make a living. A friend of mine was doing wheel repair. I was working as a service advisor at a Chevy dealer. The first time I'd ever been in a new car dealership. I worked there for 60 days. My friend showed me this wheel repair, saw the opportunity, talked to my boss, who was the dealership principal, about it. And he started my first people lesson. He said, when you really care about your people, you do what's best for them, not what's best for you. He said, I think you should start the business. You'll be great at it. Got me a $400 Chevy Astro off the wholesale line, leaking everything from everywhere. And off I went. So,
awesome.
15 years later, we offer a lot of reconditioning services to auto dealers after the detail. So paint repair, aluminum wheel repair, interior repair, and we service about 100 dealers and dealership groups across upstate New York. So Buffalo, Rochester, Syracuse, down to Philadelphia. And in the interim, communicating our culture to our own people, we used media to do it, started developing that. And a few years ago, we actually launched a creative marketing and branding agency where we work primarily for non-automotive people, helping them tell their story. So interesting path, but that's us today.
That's fantastic. So if listeners want to learn more, what's the best way to reach you for both businesses?
Yeah, both businesses. The best way to reach me would be my personal website. It's pauljdaly, DALY.com, and it has links to Congruent Story, which is our media branding agency, and Image Auto, and all the other things that I find interesting on my social media feeds.
Very cool. All right, jumping right into the people side of your business, Paul. You started Image Auto with, like you said, a wholesale Chevy Astro.
Yes.
Leaking everywhere, and at some point you needed to hire somebody. Talk about the experience of realizing it needed to be more than a one-person operation and what you did to bring that first person on board.
Sure. When I started the business, I started with the understanding that it was going to grow. So not having any business background or pedigree whatsoever, I just knew that there were certain things that I observed that other people did that had, team members, employees. And so when I structured the business, I said, I'm going to structure it as if I had one employee. So, I'd get dressed up every day. I'd go downstairs to our rented place, and my wife would look at me dressed up in the morning, sitting with no business yet. And, QuickBooks showed up in the mail, and I was like, great, now I can do this. And I just company name, I got it. EIN, I know what that is, right? And then it said chart of accounts, and I was like, I don't know what that is. And then I realized there's this thing called accounting that goes with running a business. So, I made my way through, but all that to say, I started to realize there's all these regulations when you need to hire someone. So I started in on that a little bit early, and it was about 3 or 4 months in when I felt like I needed to hire my first person because I need to concentrate on expanding. And it was probably the least informed, worst hiring process ever, which is I just asked if anybody needed a job.
Okay,
that's everybody I knew, right?
One way to do it.
And it served the purpose. And I hired my first person on the agreement of, I'm sure, illegal wage agreement fixed wage for whoever knows how many hours of work. We didn't count. We didn't care. We didn't know. And so that was my experience, my first.
How'd that work out?
It ended up working out okay. That person stayed for a number of years. Actually, the second hire that I made was slightly more informed, and his name is Peter Schultz, and he's still with me today. So
Awesome.
That wasn't far after.
So what was the difference between the first and the second? You said it went from uninformed to informed. What does that mean?
I think one of the biggest changes when I hired my first person, I realized there's a whole level of accountability that comes with having somebody else you're responsible for. I think I interviewed a little bit more. I looked a little bit harder for relevant skill set. I looked a little bit harder for job history. But again, even back then, we're talking 15 years ago, it was really, really, really green. Much different than it is today.
Well, so you've got 35 employees now.
Mm-hmm.
What's your process today? How has past experience informed your approach?
Yeah, so about a year ago, a year or two, the approach kind of morphed over the years. I actually got a lot of success because I went to Bible college. I had somewhat of a network of pastors and churches, right? They're all over the place. So us being a fairly specific area of, Lehigh Valley, Eastern Pennsylvania, and upstate New York, I was able to just search out and find churches that I knew that I could relate to. And I would start calling pastors and emailing pastors, and specifically the care pastor, because they usually have an understanding of the people's needs who might be looking for work, who might be qualified. And we had a lot of success with that over the years. We had leased our staff with a staff leasing agency for a while. We used to process payroll in-house, then we went to leasing, and then we switched to a payroll processor. The hiring process kind of evolved through that, friends, family, relationships, referrals. And really over the last year, we found ourselves now we're looking to scale our growth, and we have been on the upswing over the last 6 months, and we plan on scaling fairly quickly over the next 12. And we realized we needed process, and we had no process. And we brought in a business manager who has kind of whipped our HR into shape. We actually became Hierology customers. Hit the bell. I was waiting for that.
There we go.
And it was kind of, we backed into the Hierology relationship because I had just connected with you at NADA and just from an entrepreneurial side. And meanwhile, we learned about Hierology, and it was a perfect fit for what we needed.
NADA being the National Auto Dealer Association conference,
right?
Mega conference, 18,000
New
people.
Orleans. It was overwhelming for me. So I went down there, connected, and Hierology, the process was exactly what we were looking for. Like, we needed structure because now we have to do it like everyone else, in the sense where there's a labor pool, and we have to try to find the best fit from a labor pool of people we don't know. And the first ones were pretty terrifying. Like, I don't know you, and I'm about to trust you with a lot. But we're probably 6 months into that journey, and we're starting to get our feet under us. And I think I'm seeing the light that it is possible to find good fit. Our culture speaks for itself. We're a very people-centric culture in general, and there are people that want to be part of something, regardless of what you do. We always say, I say nobody's passionate about, dyeing a carpet from dark gray to darker gray. If they tell you that, they're lying. But I do believe that whatever you do, if you do it with purpose and you do it with other people for an end, I say, our job, this is our job. It's not our hobby. No one does this for fun. We do it because it has meaning and purpose beyond what we just do. And people want to be part of that culture. When you communicate that well, we're having some good success through the Hierology process and that just hiring structure.
So let's talk about your leadership team and how that's evolved.
Yeah.
From you doing it all to now you got 35 people. Who helps you run the business?
Yeah, so we are a director-run organization. I function as the CEO, and then I have directors that operate different geographies of the business, and then also a business manager. So basically we have a director of fixed operations, a director of reconditioning services in the Northern Territories for us, which is New York, and then one in Pennsylvania, which we're considering the South right now. Which is funny because the Northern guy, he's from New Orleans, so he hates the fact that he's the Northern guy,
I'm sure.
And then our business manager handles, he's kind of he's one of the most creative and talented people-oriented MBAs I've ever met. He kind of keeps us on track with finance, HR, and also even some of the creative media side. And that's basically the structure. And we have general managers that handle scheduling, route development, things like that. And then we have, our front line, which are our, technical experts that perform the repairs that have FaceTime with our customers every day.
Now, for your directors, were those outside hires or did you bring them up?
We brought them all up. Everybody has been brought up.
Was that by design?
It was by design. Hiring, entrusting the culture to somebody that I don't know or, has been, I don't know that anybody could have gotten it, because we kind of came up the way we came. And I know a lot of people probably say that, and maybe it is or isn't true. But for us, our culture is held so closely that I couldn't imagine putting someone in those seats that haven't been part of that journey. At this point, moving forward as we grow, I don't know if that'll be continually the way we go, but I know it's been effective to this point, and I know that every one of the directors cares for the men and women on our team just like I do. They practice servant leadership and a huge amount of value in there.
That's great. Do you have core values for the business? I'm assuming you think a lot about this stuff.
Yeah, I do. And, sometimes I probably think too much about this. I don't know that that's
I
would
possible.
say that's never possible, but some people would probably have a dissenting argument. But I'm a people person. I believe that if you put the people first and they see that and they know that you will act in a sacrificial way to protect their interests, I think that everybody wins. So we do have values. We have 8 values, and basically the way we teach it at our company is that we have a vision, which is over the horizon. We'll never get there. It's the direction we walk. Then we have a mission. The mission is how we carry out our vision. And then we have values, which act as the boundaries to which we walk about it. So you can say, I want to lose weight, right? That's not really anything. It's not a goal. It's not a mission. It's nothing but I want to, or you could say I want to be in shape, for instance, right? I want to be in shape. Well, to be in shape,
I do want
right?
to be in shape.
Me too. Doesn't everybody? Yeah. Come on, let's just be honest. Everybody wants to. So you can say, I want to be in shape, but until you start to define the criteria by which you will be in shape, what does in shape mean? Well, in shape means I will be within this weight range, this heart strength, and then how are you going to get there? You're going to starve yourself. You're going to take supplements. There are a lot of bad things that you can do to look in shape, right? But then you have your values that act as the boundaries. Well, I'm going to eat healthy, I'm going to work out regularly, and so on and so forth. So for us, our vision is provision for life. Everybody knows that provision in our company. When you say that, it's our professional vision, but also it's what provides, and not just for practical needs like money. Everybody needs that, but also for relational needs, emotional needs, like we're people. So that's our mission, and we march toward provision for life. There is no end point. It's undefinable. The mission, and basically we've distilled it down to 2 words, which is consistent provision. So we show up every time. Our industry is really plagued by people that are fly by night, that look all different, look different ways, drive old vehicles, and create a scene on some of our customers' property. So we say we show up, we always show up, we always deliver value. For us, the consistency is huge. And then we have values. There's 8 of them, so there's a lot. But we always tie them back to, any measure that we take within the company, whether positive reinforcement or negative, consequences. We say, well, there was a failure of this, and those are integrity, consistency, accountability, unity, gratitude, growth, and grace is our last one. That kind of is the umbrella value. But we're a golden rule company. Treat others like you want to be treated. I think it's very similar to your no assholes value here at Hierology. Yeah. It's kind of a catch-all, right? You know it when you see it, so that's kind of how we operate.
That's great. So how do you discern whether or not someone is going to live those values as you're going through a hiring process?
Oh,
is there one series or battery of questions you like to ask, or we having people do various role plays or anything like that?
Yeah, no, role playing is an interesting suggestion. We've never tried that. We do have questions. With Hierology, the survey that goes out as soon as someone responds to our job interview, we've crafted those questions to kind of highlight some of those things, to kind of get a feel for are these an others first type of person, or is this I'm gonna get mine kind of person. So we try to weed it out a little bit. One of my favorite questions to ask is, what does success look like in 5 years for you? If you could paint a picture of your life in 5 years and you would say, you know what, I feel like I'd be successful. I feel like that tells me a lot about.
That's a great question.
We just interviewed a young man, And he said, and then this was for a technical position. So it's a position that really is best filled by someone who probably didn't go to college, but they have a really good, they grew up around, fixing things or putting things together. And they tend to be just a simple, American pie breed. And he said, in 5 years, I'd like to own my own home. I'd like to marry my girlfriend and maybe have a dog. And I was just like, I understand you.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
I understand you. So I like that question a lot because, and that's not the only right answer. Some people have ambitions to, climb a mountain or to, be a songwriter or things like that. And all that stuff is great. But I think that one question gives me personally a lot of insight into what's important to them.
Yeah, that's fantastic. What's your philosophy around employee feedback, or someone isn't getting it done?
Mm-hmm.
What do you do?
Yeah, so we try to cultivate an environment, and we call it safe for dissent. And I kind of picked that from Dave Ramsey and his EntreLeadership stuff. But that culture, we always tell people, like, look, if you have a problem or an issue, we have a strict no gossip policy. So if you have a problem or an issue, like, you need to feel that it's safe to bring that up to somebody. So that right away takes away a lot of the excuses on why someone may have, acted out on an issue that was ongoing, because we're saying, like, look, if there's a safe environment, then you have no excuse not to bring up an issue. Now, when somebody does fall short of the mark, grace is one of our values. So we exercise grace, whenever possible, as long as it doesn't hurt somebody else or, tragically hurt the company.
Mm-hmm.
And because that's protecting the interest of everybody.
Give me an example of grace in practice.
Sure.
At your company.
A while back, we had a team member, and so we have GPS monitors in all of our vehicles, and they make sure that we visit our customers regularly, that we're abiding by the speed limit, there's liability issues, and so we always kind of know what's going on throughout the regular day. And we noticed that one team member who had been a really reliable guy, and just is a good person in general. It appeared that he was kind of milking the system a little bit and parking the vehicle, leaving it running for a couple hours at a time. Meanwhile, we were also having several other indicators, saying, his supply ordering was off or his reporting was off. And so we reached out, and usually that would be, that's a disciplinary offense, right? You went off schedule. You didn't tell anybody, you didn't ask anybody. And we found out that he was actually going through a divorce,
mm-hmm.
and we didn't know about it. He thought, he was like, I understand if you guys let me go. I understand, I kind of brought it to myself. But instead, his leader drove out there and spent half a day with him and just really encouraged him and tried to walk through that with him, because there was an understanding there, like, yes, you violated company policy. Yes, it puts us at a disadvantage. The customer didn't get service. However, we all have situations. Life happens. And so we did note that in the file, but there wasn't any disciplinary, measures taken, and kind of helped get him back on his feet and kind of walk through and be clear with the expectation, but also give some accommodation.
That's great. And I can imagine the impact that had on the rest of the team.
Yeah.
When you lived that value authentically, it was pretty powerful.
Yeah. When you do things in front, and that's the benefit of, like, such a transparent environment, even like you have here at Hierology. I realize, like, when you give people grace openly, you tend to get it back. Treat others as you want to be treated really works. And it's not as a strategy, it's just because we're human, and everybody in essence wants to be treated well. So when they see other people getting grace, they know that they'll need it at some point too. And that's kind of part of our definition of grace. At some point, we'll all mess up and need it. I, as the CEO, need a lot of grace, right? I'm a rookie CEO. I always joke, I said, I've never run a company this big before, because as we grow, it's the truth. Every year, I've never run a company this big before. So I like to sow that through the culture, because I need it too.
Yeah, I like setting that expectation that, trust me on one thing, I'm going to screw stuff up.
Yes.
And my only promise is I'll make it right. I'll fix it. But
exactly.
I'm going to need your help to get there.
Absolutely.
And it really makes a difference.
It sure does.
It makes a difference. So let's talk with the final couple of minutes we have here about your marketing company. And tell me At what point did you say, hey, I think we know something about telling the story of culture and company? Let's go do that too. It's fascinating to me.
Sure. I think that it is the greatest time in history to be a creative, because the market and commerce values creativity like it never has in history, and that shift is upon us. And that goes beyond just external push marketing, but it also goes internally. And because I'm a people person, that was always a focus of mine. How do we keep these, couple dozen people that are separated by 500 miles? How do we stay aligned? How do we stay around this vision and mission and values? How do we know what's going on? And this is, so we're talking 10 years ago, you and I were just having a conversation about, bandwidth back then. Like, there was no streaming video. There was no instant downloads. And so the only way I knew how to communicate was through creative, right? So I grew up as a musician and kind of have that creative bent. So we started producing media. That guy, Peter, I told you about, who's been with me, strangely enough, he studied, video production, which was a whole different thing 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Big studio, tapes. Right? We got tapes, we got tapes. Levers that we push forward. It looked like the Death Star control panel.
Yeah.
And so we bought some gear and we started producing videos for ourselves that we show at our company parties. And every time we did, whoever the catering service was, they were like, I want to work there, right? And it was basically everybody just telling their story of why they work here and what it means to them. And then little by little, other companies would see it. Hey, can you make us one? I took a chance on a young man who was doing an internship locally in Syracuse at a church. He needed a part-time job. So I brought him in, and he was very talented, and we worked well together. So we started making better media and more of it. We started working with a small 2-person marketing agency and for some of our projects. And, that business really the owner was looking to come under an umbrella, like to work part of a bigger agency. It was tough going by yourself. And so he's now our business manager. And so all of a sudden we have this cohort of like 3 or 4 people that can do this. And there were some legacy clients that he brought in. And so now all of a sudden, we're helping the Boston Bar Association, and we're helping, food producers, and we're helping, dealerships. And, all I can say is I really enjoy the messaging side of that business. I used to think I like production, and I realized that it's bringing people clarity is what I love to do. And I think that branding and marketing and video production are all just means to do that. And so now we work with local and national brands to do both product launches, fashion brands. We did a big internal communication project for a large, you would know it, food producer in the country. And that really just finding a way to work those two companies in synergy is a big difference in culture. So
I'm sure
we have guys walking in from the remanufacturing facility in the back, dirty, covered in aluminum dust. And they walk through, and there's a millennial on the couch with his feet up on his phone, right? But he's working, right? He's working. So it was an interesting year or two trying to everybody realize, hey, we're on the same team. And at one point I really didn't know if we were going to be able to pull it off, but it has been pulled off, and everybody again has rallied around Provision for Life. And so now it's one of those elements that I get access into boardrooms and find myself at tables next to CEOs, and that I feel like this is way above my pay grade, but it has helped me bring that back and be able to sew it into the lives of the people in our company. So it's really been an interesting road.
That's amazing. And the impact I'm sure you have, I can guarantee you have on a company's ability to find the right people by telling that company's story in an authentic way. It's just such a powerful tool.
I love that side of it. It's called Congruent Story because congruent is, not equal, but it's the same as. So, we believe that your media should be an accurate reflection of who you actually are. And even from technical side, I think sometimes just poor production, just out of, I don't know how to produce, poor production or even pre-planning and crafting that story and that message so it really does reflect who the people are, I think is doing them, the team, their business, I think, just a great service.
Very cool. All right, so if you come back on the show in a year,
yep,
and tell us about the big thing you've got to tackle now, and you were bragging about knocking it out of the park, what's the thing that's on your plate?
Yeah, I think that we would have effectively made the transition from about 35. I've never really liked, quantifying like a number of people, as far as success. But I think what it represents now, we've wrapped our minds around. I think if we are in the vicinity of 50 team members a year from now, I think that would really reflect the fact that we've executed well.
That's incredible.
On our plans. Yeah, that's a big jump.
50% headcount growth.
Yeah,
in a
that's
year.
it's a big jump. But we can see it. I feel like we've built the infrastructure now that we can do that without much infrastructure change. So I feel like we've been building it to this point. To now, we've built the motorcycle. Now it's time to run it.
Yeah, it's an honor to be a part of that journey with you. That's very cool.
Yeah. Oh, you're a valued partner.
I think that's fantastic. Okay, what book is on your nightstand right now?
Yes, I haven't. I've read 2 pages of it.
That's fair.
It's The Effective Executive by Peter Drucker.
Okay. That's kicking it old school.
Yeah, it is real old school. And I read the first 2 pages and they immediately made me feel better. It's like, the cover's not sexy. It's none of this, he doesn't have a blog, I don't think. He probably doesn't even use any social media. But he basically says, I've worked with political leaders and executives and not-for-profit leaders all over and he goes and quantifies it in this country, in this country, in this country. He goes, never once have I seen someone who is a natural at being effective. Effectiveness is something you have to learn. It doesn't come natural and automatic. I said, you've all
got me on page 2.
Empathy, right?
Yeah.
You know me. So and so I read through and he boils it down to 7 things that an effective executive would focus on, and they all are things that can be learned. So that's what I'm reading right now.
Enjoy. I look forward to catching up with you on what you thought of that. That sounds like something I need to tackle. All right, that's the final word. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been learning from Paul J Daly, founder, CEO, and creative director of Image Auto and Congruent Story. Paul, thank you for being with us.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
All right, that's a wrap for this week's episode of the Best Team Wins podcast, where we're featuring entrepreneurs and business leaders whose exceptional approach to the people side of their business has led to incredible results. My name is Adam Robinson, author of the book, The Best Team Wins, which you can find online at www.thebestteamwins.com. Thank you for listening, and we will see you next week.
Thanks for listening to the Best Team Wins podcast with Adam Robinson. You can find out more information about Adam and his book, The Best Team Wins, Building Your Business Through Predictive Hiring, at thebestteamwins.com. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next week.